Hi, my name is Andres Arredondo, and today we'll be talking about private placement offering or private placement memorandum. The private placement memorandum is the most common exemption from Section 5 of the Securities Act of 1933. Section 5 is basically requires a registration statement with the SEC before offering to sell any type of security in interstate commerce. Registration under Section 5 can be extremely expensive and time consuming and requires usually a large network of underwriters and brokers or dealers to make sure that there's actually a market for the security that you're going to be offering. An issuer registering under Section 5 is typically has a strict periodic reporting requirement, which can be also expensive to make sure that these types of financial statement requirements are actually adhered to. The parts of these exemptions, which we'll cover right now, is one of which is Section 4.2. This section actually allows for the exemption from registration for specifically transactions by an issuer not involving a public offering. This one is very broad and can also be kind of difficult to adhere to because it is so broad. It tends to leave open lots of gray areas and be subject to different types of legal issues. The other section that allows for an exemption would be Section 3A.11, which states that any security which is part of an issue offered and sold only to persons resident within a single state by an issuer which is a resident and doing business within that state also allows for non-registration with SEC under Section 5. So that basically includes any type of business or investor that's going to be investing in the business. It has to be within the same state. Then the additional regulations that allow for exemption from Section 5 would be Regulation D, Rule 504, 505, and 506. These actually have a specific dollar amount for any type of sales or issuances less than 504 would be less than $1 million during a 12-month period. 505 would be less than $5 million and also requires accredited investors to be to have them issued only to accredited investors. And then Regulation D 506, which actually has no dollar limit but still requires accredited investors. So that's just kind of one of the reasons why individuals would want to specifically go to private placement, to make sure that they're capable of getting around those types of fees and complications. Also, according to what we've been studying, we're looking at due diligence and the term sheet that's involved in this part of the private placement memorandum. Due diligence is basically the effort of intentionally providing the investor with the knowledge that they need for them to make an informed decision about their investment. Due diligence can also be considered the effort of the investor to gather this information on their own, but as long as it's readily available to them. Although it can be cumbersome to collect and report all of this information, it's the best way to create a trusting relationship between those that invest and those that need the money invested into their company. And to wrap it all up, the term sheet is the tool used to reach a finalized version of the private placement memorandum. It itself is not really a legally binding tool, but it's used in good faith as a document detailing the negotiation and its path to becoming an agreement. Once the term sheet actually has all of the information and they actually do agree on, that is the investor and the business that is looking to have be invested in, once they actually reach an accord, they will have lawyers take the term sheet and actually draft a full agreement to make sure that it is legally binding. And that's what we have for private placement memorandum and offerings. Thank you very much.